Okay, it's Thursday, September 22nd. This is an end of the day SPY recap. Let's review what happened today and what is developing now as the week comes to an end, and some things to continue to look for going forward. So today you could see here, it was actually one of the clear days in terms of what to expect and what developed. And the way it developed, you end up with another red bar to the downside after a big red bar yesterday. You expected some follow through. You can see here when you look back on the chart, it was just a red day to the downside with a little bit of follow through. And in terms of, I remember last week I was talking about when the week ended here with a little bit of a green bar after coming down and broadening out lower. I said it, and knowing the Fed was going to be having their decision on Wednesday, I said it could be a little tricky in terms of the short side, but we still were going to be biased that way, and maybe something very clear would develop at some point, whether we failed to go up and hit these targets. All my prior videos, I was kind of talking about that. So I really wasn't surprised yesterday to have this kind of reversal, when it started up and then came past the midpoint and had a big red bar after the Fed announcement. Also, there were other reasons why I think no matter what they announced, you were going to have a negative reaction to it, whether it was 75 basis points or 1 basis point. But anyway, forgetting that, it was just all week long I was biased to the downside, so that was that. And then today was really the clearest day of them all in terms of, even though it doesn't look like a big red day, it was a day that clearly followed through lower, and there were many stocks that offered great opportunities to trade. And in terms of the market itself, if you look at the pre-market highs and lows, we started out kind of first bar below the pre-market lows, and then we just paused a little bit and then tried to make another push down, and then the market was weak all day. I'll show you in a second why we rallied up here just to take out some stops and then closed lower. But essentially it was like a two push down kind of move early in the session, and then that was the main move of the day, even though the tone remained negative for most of the day for many stocks. So that was pretty it was pretty straightforward what to expect after yesterday, and today was really the easy day to trade. Now going forward, Friday, we have to kind of watch where the pre-market activity is. We're going to see if we open up above the high or low of that range. We're going to look at the midpoint. We'll get into all that tomorrow morning to see. I can't predict if we have a rally up tomorrow, a two up day. It doesn't look like the type of bar where you're going to reach that magnitude in the day. So it could be a failure up here to head down, or it could just be a pause type of day. We had that back. There was one of these days in here. I forgot where it was. It was this type of thing where you kind of rallied up. We had this big red bar, and then of course, on this first day with the two up, you didn't reach it, but eventually we had 4 days in a row that went up and hit our target. So if you have some kind of an up day tomorrow, and it doesn't reach the target, you can kind of, as long as you hold the midpoint of that bar, keep, you look for continuation to hit that area as well. So we'll see what happens tomorrow if we get some kind of green day. And again, you do get some exhaustion in here. Let's keep in mind, even from 2 weeks ago, you have almost 8 days in a row. I think this was the one day that tried to go up. These other days were more pause days that didn't really follow through. So it's almost like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and this could be, you're really going to get 9 days in a row down. Yeah, it's very possible. I mean, again, even looking at the weekly chart, going back to that, the question is now, let's get into that, like what has to change here, to start to begin to even thinking that the trend might change back to the upside. Well, you're going to need a weekly reversal, and we're nowhere near that. Even on Friday, even if we get an update tomorrow, it'll be sort of it'll look like a negative shooter momentum bar that should continue down into next week. We still have these targets here that haven't been hit, and we still have the monthly chart that's, until things changes, I'm still targeting the low of that prior, that month, 2 months ago. So that's all in play. So no matter what happens tomorrow, you're ending the week, you can't predict for sure. I still anticipate that eventually we're going to keep working lower in some fashion. And it's very clear, we've had times like this where you'd go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 red weeks in a row. So at this point, if you look at a channel and we're going to take out these low, we could be heading down a whole bunch of weeks in a row. So I'm not even expecting some kind of reversal. But if it's going to take place, you're going to have to get some kind of a close here that maybe, is not as red as it looks right now tomorrow. And then you're going to have to start above the midpoint of this bar and then take out so until you get a weekly high taken out, which is way on the daily chart, let's go back to that. That's way up here. I think that's the weekly high, this line right up Well, it's this bar right here. So until we even get back above this bar in the daily chart, that's not going to turn the weekly chart up. So I'm not going to, there's a whole bunch of things that have to happen to start to begin to even think the upside. We could get failures down here on the next week that then come to the midpoint of this week. That might start something if we don't, that's assuming we don't reach these targets first, because I'm still looking for that to be hit. So anyway, I can get into that stuff another time, but the buys are still down. We're still working down. You got to look day to day what happens. In terms of my trading, just a final thought here. Again, because, these days are tricky in terms of how long, when you get a big red bar, how much, you high probability you're going to take at the low of this bar, but it's not as big of a red bar. That's why I have adjusted my trading to kind of first move of the day kind of thing. And that's why if you were trading this, you would have had a lot of opportunities early in the morning, and then you don't have to worry about that. It just consolidates all day, So that's just sort of my approach, because I know you have a lot of these days that are just, they take out the high, they take out the, high, but they only do it in the first, move of the day, and then it kind of goes sideways all day. So even though these bars kind of look green, 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 it's just you have to look in, kind of an inside view of how it took place. And, that's why a lot of times I'll get in trades like this, take my morning profits, and it might go a lot lower. I miss that's fine, but I can show you many more days where you get that morning move and then you don't get anything else for the rest of the day. So it's good to take those base hits early in the session that align with your expectations here. And then finally, if we looked, I was watching the 15-minute chart, you saw this a little rally here. You can tell you got that move down to the intraday low, and then all session long you were trying to curl over. A lot of stocks did curl over. I could take this off now. Like Nvidia, went down and then it curled over, went lower, and Tesla came down and curled over, went lower. The S&P itself wasn't really doing that. And anyway, then you had this big rally up. So for anyone who thought that this was going to be a big change of momentum, all it did, I drew these red lines in here. You can look at these. It took out this high and this high, this high right here, that's a red line, and then this high right here, it came up there, and then it failed and immediately went down. So anytime you have a downward overall bias, you look for broadening action to the upside to, possibly to shake out some shorts and then get short again. So again, not surprising at all that after trying to rally here, we end up with a big red bar to close the session and give us that big red look. At the moment, that bar looked like a very neutral bar at these red lines, but then by the close, it looks like a nice red bar, and that all took place in the last 15 minutes. So again, confirming the downtrend, and again, not surprising that a rally like this wouldn't continue. Now, if you're going to get a strong reversal like that, to me, it would have to be more like at the end, let's go to the weekly chart. You'd have something where the weekly chart was failing all week long, or you hit a target, and then by the end of the week, you were going to get a potential hammer bar. So we still have one more day to go in this week. Again, just trying to show you that when I see a strong rally that reverses like that, if I think it's going to stick, it's also probably going to be in line with a weekly chart that looks like it's about to reverse. And that could be within an uptrend that just had a brief pullback, and then, you're getting the continuation higher and so forth. But anyway, everything's down here at the moment. We'll just continue to kind of go with the bias that this weekly chart still has these targets down here to hit. Let's see if it happens tomorrow. If it doesn't happen tomorrow, then we'll watch how this weekly bar closes. We'll monitor, all kinds of price action relative to, where it forms within this bar next week, and kind of go from there. And again, I still think the monthly chart has these targets down here. And, quite frankly, we could be moving on. Well, we could take out that low, the big low down here, and then go even lower than that. So that a lot of people predicting that, and that's fine. I mean, that's what's happening at the moment. So until price action, tells us otherwise, that's where we're going to be. So anyway, very clear, one of the clear days of trading this week, even though if you look back on the chart, you'd say, oh, a little red bar. This day must have been easy, and this day must have been easy. No, this was really the easiest day the way I see it, and we'll just have to see what happens tomorrow.